Put your feet up. Relax.
Welcome back to the Bad for Education podcast where we teach you what's good for you and what's bad for education. I'm Andrew Lee.
I'm Jason Yada.
And today we're going to be talking about more of a, soft skill kind of thing compared to what we usually talked about. Previous episodes were usually geared towards the whole boot camp experience, the whole technical side, breaking it down for newbies or people who are kind of interested in jumping into web development or maybe want to find different passions in a different career or something like that is what we're usually, our episodes are geared towards. But today we're going to talk about something more along the lines of resume building.
Yes, crafting the perfect resume that will get you get your foot in the door for that interview.
Yeah, because we all know it's kind of hard to make that big shift from, starting off like going 20 miles down the lane of maybe being like a chef or a nurse or something like that. And all of a sudden you're like, I fucking hate this. I want to do something different. And then switching over, it's kind of like starting all the way back from ground zero. Mm-hmm. And that's difficult for a lot of people.
It is, yeah. I think both of us did that. And, having a resume that, because you don't want to make, every industry's resume is different, right? Like software development is no different. So we're going to kind of break it down the best that we know and help you craft a good resume.
Sure, for sure. And for me, I guess for myself, when I'm thinking about building resumes when I was in the software tech industry phase, I was thinking more along the lines of, we got to show up all these projects and stuff like that. And sure enough, that's what it's all about. That's why you're in the boot camp in the first place. That's why you're, studying all these courses and, building all these projects. It's like when you're starting from ground zero, you get to start showcasing your projects first. And I think that was one of the first things they taught us. If you don't have any experience in tech whatsoever, even if it's kind of relevant, it's better to put that stuff away and put more of these projects you've done in class ahead of all of that.
Totally. That's obviously, a BS degree in computer science is super important for sure, and that will definitely help you, and you have to put that on your resume. But if you don't have that, it's really about, a lot of companies just want to see what you built. So having your most recent projects or stuff that you're most proud of, or any kind of open source stuff that you've contributed towards, and then being specific with what exactly you did and what technologies you used is really important.
That's very true. And so also make sure that when you are using these projects, I like to kind of put it in a way and order it in a way that's like, this is my strongest project that I did with the group or something like that. Just like the strongest project that displays everything, all the knowledge, all the back end stuff, all the front end stuff. Then they put that at the very top and then kind of go downwards from relevancy and I guess difficulty wise, if anything. So it's like, you build an app. We did like a mood board type of app where you kind of log in hours for your mood and kind of, get quotes and stuff on the daily. It's like a phone app to help gauge your mood and put you in a better mood. And so that was really strong comparison to the memory match game, which we talked about in a previous episode. That's also impressive, but not as impressive in scale. And so I think having a really strong big project is better than a strong solo project.
Absolutely. Yeah. Your first one on your resume should definitely be the one that you're the most proud of, and should showcase the abilities for the specific job that you're applying for. I think that's important too. We can touch on that more later, but your resume is going to look different and slightly different depending on what job that you're actually applying for, which sounds kind of weird because before this, I just had one resume and I would just send it out to everybody. But with this, with web development, you're learning that if you're applying for a job that's very React and Vue heavy, then you might want to put more React and Vue stuff that you've done in your resume. Whereas if you're applying for a job that's strictly, jQuery and JavaScript or Node, then you're probably going to take one of those off and you're going to replace it with something else like that you've done. So it's kind of your resume is dynamic. It's changing.
Just like React or Vue, it's just very dynamic and changing, right? Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with those points. Also, I think for resumes in general, I feel a lot of times just designing the general resume itself, there's a lot of concerns with being, I guess, like if you use, some people have put pictures on the resume or they use like different colors. Like I've seen, I'm not sure if you remember, like they showed us, I think back in the day, just really crappy resumes where people would put like stars and stuff, and like it'd be like red and black, and it looked really cool, I guess, if you're in the creative world. But if you're applying for like a dev position, it's kind of just all fluff and it has nothing to do with anything. So it's like, for instance, with the star thing, someone put like, oh, I'm 5 stars for CSS or something like that, and it's like, what is that in relation to?
Sure.
Right? What does that even mean to me? Right? You put graphs and all these bars, whatever. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool, but in the general scope of how is this relevant to your true technological savvy and skill for the role that you're about to apply for?
Sure. And that also, I mean, by adding those like fluff little, graphs or whatever, those images, that's valuable space that you can be putting other content in that you've done. Like you don't want to overload the person and just have fucking line by line from the top to bottom of like paragraphs, but you want to like maximize your space because you really want to keep it ideally to one page, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you can definitely have more than one page for sure. If like you're, if you're a senior and you've done a shit ton of stuff and they're all good, totally. There's nothing wrong with that. But, as a junior coming out of a boot camp, you want to keep it to one page. And so all that space is very valuable.
Yeah. And going off that point, I'd probably say maybe giving maximum 4 bullet points per new project that you released. So get rid of all that tired BS stuff from like when you worked at McDonald's or worked at Trader Joe's or whatever, and put in, 4 bullet points for each of those projects you'll be doing on that resume that you're going to be sending towards people.
Yeah. So going along with that, so 4 bullet points per project, how many projects would you tell someone to put on the resume?
I'd say 3 max.
3 max.
3 max. I think 3 is a good number to keep it with the sizing and all the margins in consideration, all the relevant information for like education, I guess previous accolades, maybe like just contact info and stuff. I think 3 with like double spaced, font 12 times or Arial or whatever, they should all fit pretty congruently and pretty nicely with 3 projects, I'd say.
Gotcha. I think that's a good call. So you want to put your work experience too on the resume, right? It's very important.
If I did, it would be really, really relevant. Like, hey, I was working in the tech sphere and I worked with some of these technologies that we also used in some of like the projects, or it could be kind of catered to that position that I'm applying for. If not, if I'm like applying for a marketing company, for instance, and I put, something along the lines of, oh, I, worked with Hootsuite or MailChimp or something like that. Okay, those are some technologies that are kind of relevant and you have experience with. But if it's applying for, I guess, CFO of like some bank, like a bank dev guy or whatever, and I don't have anything about, accounting or any money, like tech stuff, like I'm not going to throw in MailChimp or Hootsuite or something like that. It just wouldn't be relevant.
Okay, so you would recommend keeping it to only things that kind of pertain to the position then?
Yes.
Or the tech world. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Just on a case by case basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, I almost feel I do agree with you, but I feel like if you did come from, say you were like a nurse for like 6 years or whatever, and you went through a boot camp and now you're like, oh, like what? I have nothing to put under work experience. I would still probably put something there, because if you have 3 projects, you're probably going to have room in there for, I mean, you could always add another project, right? But I think I would put that in there. Or even, I've even seen people, and I've heard of people putting like a little summary of like a small, like a little paragraph of people that they're coming out of a boot camp. They have no experience whatsoever. They'll write like a little summary of like what they were doing like prior, their like experience through the boot camp, and now like what they're looking for now. Like it's really 5 lines. But I feel like that or even putting that you were a nurse would be kind of cool.
I agree with that. I would agree with that actually. I think what I was talking about would be more just like the actual detailed version, but the summary thing, I think we discussed in a previous episode too with the elevator pitches.
Yeah.
That would be kind of like the elevator pitch summary of what you were. And I think that's what distinguishes boot camp people. It's like, oh, we were these totally completely different people before the boot camp, and this is all like the different mindsets we had before. I think that's really cool. But I think nursing, like, I did like 5 cc's of whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Specifics definitely.
Specifics,
leave out,
yeah.
For sure.
But that's a good point, and I totally agree with that. The summary is, at the summary end, it makes you different. And if you're coming for a boot camp, and maybe that's why you're listening to this podcast in the first place, that's a good idea. You should definitely put something out there that shows what you were like before and how that makes you different, and maybe even better for the role than someone who just took that degree.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, a lot of companies want diversity. That's huge right now. And it's really beneficial. Like, honestly, I don't know if owned a company and I was interviewing 2 people, one that say had a career, decided it wasn't for them, was bold enough to go to a boot camp and quit, like put everything on hold, and sacrifice that time and then to try and change, versus someone that maybe they wanted to be a programmer their entire life, which is great. Like, you knew what you wanted to do, but if they're both of equal skill level, I'm probably going to choose the person that sacrificed, honestly. I know that sounds maybe not the smartest move, but that person has shown that they're resilient enough to say, I can get through this. Like, I'm an adult. Like, they've already done something, decided they didn't like it, and now found something they really enjoy. So that's just me.
No, I totally would hire that same person, the person who was able to take on a different challenge and excel at it. And, that's the type of person I want on my team too. Like, hey, like, maybe I'm not the best at it, but I'm going to work my damnedest and I'm going to put all the effort I can. And if it's hard to do, like, I've went through trials and tribulations of switching careers. That's a totally big thing. Mm-hmm. Rather than the person who's all like, I'm a CS person. Okay, so what? What other experience do you have? Mm-hmm. What other life stuff have you done besides been behind a computer? Yeah, sure. You love it and stuff, but like, what can you bring to the table that's different? Maybe my company, nowadays, startups they need someone who can wear different hats, and maybe that person who's just a CS-minded person can't wear that other hat. And it's like, okay, do I want the CS person who's just going to code all day, or do I want someone who can help write copy, someone who can do some marketing for me, someone who can do social media for me, sure. Right? So I agree with that too.
Yeah. So with another good point of if you do have a summary, a little blip about yourself. So I know we talked about this in the boot camp, or TJ mentioned it, that a lot of so when you send your resume out and you apply for a job, they have these like bots that will scan your resume really quickly, and they'll just basically search for keywords of like SEO, JavaScript, HTML, whatever the job wants. They're going to scan that first, and then if your resume if it has enough of those keywords, it gets passed on to an actual person. Most big companies use that now. So if you do have a little summary about yourself, that gives you even more. The more words you have, the better, because you have a higher chance of passing that first initial scan.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. There are also some things too. People, he mentioned something about also not like putting in enough keywords, but not overloading it too. Because I remember there were some people that were like, this was like a dark black hat type of thing that they did, but they would put in all the words and they would make it white. So there would like be hidden words that the thing would pick up, but it's like not really there kind of thing. I thought that was funny, and like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that.
It's like an SEO thing too. People used to do that in like alt tags, or they would make a paragraph that was just invisible, and they would put every keyword imaginable
just
in
to
there.
Capture the keywords and get traffic and stuff.
Exactly. I'm sure it still happens, but I don't know if browsers have caught up to that or not.
Yeah. I think by now I got to check in on that, but yeah, I think they got kind of wiser to that.
Yeah.
So don't do that, but put, like Jason said, put relevant keywords and stuff like that, because they do scan for it, and if it's relevant, you have to be able to talk about it too.
Definitely. Yeah. Just like, again, your resume is never, it's always changing. So if you're applying for a React position, put more like React focused keywords in there, but don't lie on it. Don't be like, oh, I did Redux and I don't know how to do Redux. But the scan's probably going to look for that kind of thing. User authentication, Redux, scalability, those kinds of, you can look them up online and just copy and paste kind of
mobile
thing.
Responsiveness, all that stuff, all
Exactly.
that jazz. But yeah, and on to that point, if you do use those keywords and you fake it till you make it, and you fake it on the interview, they're gonna get caught. I think you're gonna get caught for sure, because they're gonna be like, oh, explain this Redux kind of thing that you did, and if you don't want to talk about it, then now you just shot yourself in the foot.
Sure.
So definitely load it with keywords, but make sure you can back up what you're talking about.
Yeah, don't lie at all on your resume. Make sure that every talking point you have on every project, you can actually explain and you can talk about because you actually did it. Because I've had tons of people ask me about my resume. So besides the work experience, besides the projects, what else do you think people should have on their resume?
Definitely education if you can, just because let's say, and it's not a requisite to have like a 4-year degree or anything like that, but it's just one of those things like, oh, this person's been through a 4-year degree, they've stuck to something for 4 years at least, right? Like they tried this thing for 4 years. Okay, cool. That's kind of a nice thing. Like they stuck to it and worked on it. Maybe also awards or scholarships you may have gotten for, academic excellence. It's not, high on the list, but it's not something to scoff at either, I'd say.
I feel like that would be a section to where if you do have a little bit of extra room and you've already done everything else on your resume, like throw that in there to fill it up.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do. What about, so I know for devs, I have a section on mine that's just keywords, like skills, basically. A skills section.
Yeah, that's true. And then it would be ranked in, you should rank it from what was the word for it? It's like top skills, like I'm familiar with it and I touched it, but I'm not that great. And it's just like a technology I've messed around with. There's like 3 tiers to that too.
Yeah, I know we had originally broken those down on the resume too. Like it actually labeled them like experienced, touched on, whatever. In mine, I just list them now, but do you have them still broken down on yours?
I still haven't broken down in mine actually.
Cool.
Yeah. And I guess since we're both, working as devs, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, but I think for me, I think I just like it to be organized in that way. It's just easier for me to read, and then if they want to poke and prod at it, I could be like, oh, it's underneath the least experienced version, so you shouldn't ask me too much about that.
Sure. Like I've worked with it, but I'm not super familiar with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think people should also have their social stuff on there, social media. If you want, I guess you don't have to, but definitely like name, phone number, email, LinkedIn profile, I think. What else? Instagram, Twitter, if you want. It's not necessary.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter is kind of good for tech because I know a lot of people use, there's like a lot of dev Twitter, followings out there and whatnot. So if you have like a lot of projects and you post a lot on Twitter for tech stuff, it'd be good. But for the most part, I think LinkedIn is, like you said, LinkedIn's pretty good. It's the new address now. No one puts on their full address anymore. They just put on like their LinkedIn and phone number and emails, and that's it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think I have my, I don't have my full home address on there, but I have like Anaheim, California on there, just so people know where I'm located.
Yeah. Just like the city is good.
Yeah.
I feel like since nowadays, and I think in a couple episodes, we always talked about how we're still in a COVID era, unfortunately. And so it doesn't really matter, I think, as much for cities anymore either. It's just like they want to know. But even if you live far away or work far away, it's like we could get jobs clear across the country and it'd still be okay as long as they can reach us at a certain time and whatnot. We get the job done.
It's a good point. I remember pre-COVID, when we had just finished the boot camp, I was applying for some jobs out of state. And so I would put my location on my resume as I lived in that state because I thought it'd have a high, like if they saw someone that was like, oh, from Anaheim, like California, like, nah, fuck this guy. Like, yeah, he might be good, but it's too far. But if they see it and it's like, oh, he's like right in town. Okay, I'll give him a shot. So I don't know. That's a little trick that TJ told us to do.
That's a good trick too, actually. I mean, I feel like employers might care. They say they don't care, but they might care about that. Like, oh, this guy's like in a different time zone. It's gonna be hard to like get a hold of them. So
yeah,
that's a good point too. So if you guys are out there, take these tips to heart and just really iron yourselves in. And if you want to work in a different state, maybe it's not a bad idea to kind of fib, and maybe you have relatives out there, right? And it's like
exactly that's the thing. Yeah, you can. And it is, I guess, it is lying in a sense, but the way that I look at it is like it's giving yourself more of an opportunity because it has nothing to do with your actual skill. This is just getting your foot in the door for the interview. You could always say, "Oh, I'm planning on moving here in like a month or two. Exactly. I'm not there yet, but like I'm planning to move here already.
Once you give me that job, I'll be there in a bit."
Exactly.
Yeah. Good point. And so in terms of we talked about, I guess, what the resume should look like, what bullet points and stuff should be on it, and I guess the skills, location stuff, summary. Is there anything else in particular that stands out for you as like a dev that would be important for a resume?
I think just keeping your just being honest on it and keeping your bullet points for your projects and your work experience, if you have any relevant work experience, like very short and concise.
Yeah.
Keep them. I know a thing that TJ had really emphasized with us that stuck with me for resumes was make sure you're maximizing like the entire like width of the section, like typing wise, like typography wise, just so it doesn't look empty. And plus, you're just filling it with more stuff. Like don't like have like a full line and then like 2 words and then full line and 2 words. It like looks broken up. It looks choppy.
Yeah, you want to go as far across the page with that bullet point as you can, if anything,
without adding too much unnecessary stuff.
Yeah,
it's a balancing act to create a good resume.
Definitely. And if you guys have any, I guess, questions and stuff about resume building, I mean, me and Jason have prior experience in that, so send it to us at the badforeducationpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
So one other thing. So design wise. So how does yours look?
Mine has definitely emphasized on the name at the top right, and it's kind of broken down. Like the majority of it is split kind of 2/3 for the actual words and like skills and projects, and then that one sliver column, that last 1/3 was just all the technologies I use, all the little nitty-gritty random miscellaneous stuff that I just put out there.
Okay.
Yeah, but like the name would be like, I guess, a 32 font or something like that, or 28, and just like to emphasize like, oh, this is that guy, and etc., and then just the summary right below it, and then those 2/3
Gotcha.
and 1/3.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, mine's pretty similar to yours. I used I think Canva, like the online, like the app, to it, because I had it just in like Word or I don't know. I made a PDF. Make sure you export it in PDF. That's super important. I think we said that. I made it not designy, but they have a lot of like really cool like resume templates, like modern ones. So I actually have it here. I wish I could show people, but
Oh man. Well,
It's
can we link it inside the show notes?
sure.
Okay. If you guys want some more ideas, I'll probably link mine and we'll show Jason's too. His looks really good actually. We might just show his because mine looks kind of dated now.
I didn't design it. It was a template that I kind of customized a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've actually gotten a lot of interviewers say they really enjoy it. Like they're like it's different than what we usually get.
No, it looks hot, man. I like that.
Thanks, man.
I would date that.
You can take it. You can take the template.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so we'll definitely put that out there, and you guys can check it out and compare notes if anything. If it helps you guys, and if you guys need some coaching too, definitely let us know.
Sure. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Cool. And that concludes our talk on resume building for now. There probably will be more in the future, but we'll move on to a different topic. And the next topic we'll be talking about is Bad for Education 2.0.
Cool.
So as you guys know, we've been working at Bad for Education for since before COVID started, right? Like before.
Has it?
Has been before. It's been like since March or something, right?
Wow, okay.
It's been like some time. I know like we went through it through June because there's like my birthday happening. I was dating somebody at the time. Like we went through like a lot of trials and tribulations. We had a lot of conversations about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Got a lot more comfortable with each other. Like got to know our strengths, weaknesses as castmates and stuff. And one of the things that we really need to dive into, I feel like, and just share with you guys too, is we want to do more YouTube stuff. Hence this video. There would be another video, but I think that video got cut off already. So we might want to use that one because it just abruptly ends. So probably this one though. So more videos for YouTube, just for people who want to dive right in and they don't have access to Apple Podcasts or they don't even know about it. They just like to consume their podcast on YouTube. There are people like that, right?
Sure.
There's that. We want to do a website. We already have, ideas for that we've been throwing back and forth. Just different ways for you guys to come and just, visit us, get more information on programs, on what to do, how to become better developers, what to do for resume building, like we just talked about, and stuff like that. Just a general easier place to find us.
Totally. I think it'd be good. Like, at least I'm looking forward to being able to like make blog posts and go more in depth on certain subjects that we talk about that we just kind of touch on during these podcast episodes. I would like to actually just write more about them and give people more resources to learn more about what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And we can also like link people to our GitHubs or some or share stuff, share projects, host events, or do other things that kind of like maybe eventually build like a little community
Yeah.
for Bad Education, you know, and then just have people just come inside and like do like write blog posts, do challenges, maybe even just extend the conversation further.
Sure, definitely. We could have your chat service that you created too.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, on Firebase for the Firebase episode whenever we do it.
Yeah.
What else would you want to add, or what else were you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, we could always just do
Merchandise, T-shirts and stuff too.
There you go. T-shirts, hats, all that kind of thing. I don't know. I think just having a kind of a hub, a home hub for our podcast and just the things that we want to talk about, and being able to release more information than just this podcast. That's what I'm looking forward to, at least.
That's a good point, because it's pretty limited on what we can show. I mean, we were thinking and we were talking about doing more, you know, switching the video onto just showing actual screen shares of stuff. But I mean, it's just, do you really want to sit through that screen share? I don't know. Like for a podcast, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see where it takes us. 2.0.
2.0, but we're doing other things for it, and that's some of the things on the ether. Mm-hmm. I think definitely more merchandise stuff. I think we were focusing more on, I guess, a more focused logo that just makes us more us, I guess, in general. I don't know, other things that we could bring to the table.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see where it takes us in 2021.
Yeah, merch and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would want to do in particular for the 2.0?
I mean, no, I'm just, like I said, I'm just looking forward to having a place to just put out more content, to be able to write more, to be more in depth with what we're talking about. Because I've listened to a couple past episodes, and there's so many things that like I wanted to bring up and I either forgot or we just ran out of time. So to have a place where I can actually like break down like really a lot of things that really helped me get through my boot camp or even start getting into it, which I got, you know, it would take us forever to talk about all these things on the podcast. So it'll be a nice place to write about those kind of niche things.
That's true. That's a good point. And also sometimes it's like when we're talking about stuff, since this is kind of a beginner podcast, and like sometimes we think kind of further ahead, even though we're both still junior devs at heart and stuff, and that like skill level, I don't think we're that great. I think we're decent now, but you know, sometimes we might say things are a little bit further ahead than what people are used to. So if anything, you know, it would be great to have like a hub, like you said, a community, maybe a chat forum that I could possibly build, like a blog, more video content, more ways for people to do maybe polls and stuff, maybe just a news outlet thing where we could share stuff, like a forum where people can just kind of like, hey, I had a question about this, and like you kind of dive more into that. We could drop resources and links and just have that community.
Sure. Yeah, it would be cool to be able to like put out, you know, breaking news or things that are happening in the dev world, because there are a few websites that do that, but there's not a whole lot that are. I feel like we're both kind of front end focused. I think that would be a really I'm not really interested in backing that off that much.
Hell no, I'm not. Front end voice for life.
It's kind of boring.
It's fucking boring.
So I think it'd be cool to have like a front end focused place where you can get some news.
Yeah, not to shit on back end people, because I mean, if you like it, you
cool.
like it.
No, I love back end people, just their job sucks.
Yeah, your back end job sucks, but we like you people.
Yeah, I love the people. Just don't know how they do the job.
Yeah. So if anything, that's coming up on the horizon. So make sure to stay up to date with us on our Instagram and Twitter, and send us emails if you guys want to see different stuff. You know, maybe there's something that you guys haven't seen before on a website or a forum that you want to see in a hub or something like that you want for a different community. Feel free to share it with us at badforeducationpodcast@gmail.com, or, you know, follow us on Twitter, badforedupod, and on Instagram at badforeducationpodcast.
Perfect.
And that's pretty much it for now.
2.0, let's go.
2.0, keep you guys posted. Peace.
Later.